Hello dear students, so here Raminder Kaur, your biology teacher. I'm going to start with the fourth video lecture of chapter number 16, Digestion and Absorption. Today's topic I will start with calorific value of various components such as carbohydrates, proteins and fats. This information will not be evaluated from your examination point of view. It is just given as extra information. Whenever you go to market and buy any food product, out the calories which are mentioned on its background, that shows that how much kilojoule of proteins, fats, saturated or unsaturated fats and sugar is present inside it. So what is calorific value? It is just the amount of energy that is required to raise the temperature, and this energy is liberated inside our body when we eat 1 gram of food that either contain proteins, carbohydrates or fats. So according to nutritionists, they have taken up in the form of terms calorie or joule. Here you have to learn the basic thing that in case of proteins, the gross calorific value is 5.65 kilocalorie. For carbohydrates, it is 4.1 kilocalorie, and for fats, it is maximum, that is 9.45 kilocalorie per gram of food item. So this gives us a clear idea that how much amount of heat energy is liberated whenever we eat any particular amount of food material. Next topic that is important is absorption of digested products. We have already studied that how different parts of alimentary canal help in digestion of different food products, such as carbohydrates get broken down into glucose, then proteins are broken down into simplest form called as amino acids, and fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. Now they are ready to absorb by the blood or the lymph, which is a major connective tissue which helps in transportation of oxygen, food and other substances from one place to another. It can be taken up by passive method. Passive method means where energy is not required. Second is active, means energy is required. Or facilitated transport mechanism means some receptors are required which can act as a carriers and help in transfer of food substances from one place to another. So our important point is that the process of transportation of simple glucose amino acids is done by simple diffusion. Here I want to repeat the definition of diffusion. The movement of substances from higher concentration to the lower concentration is called as diffusion, and it is always with the concentration gradient. It will never flow from low to high but always flow from high to low. Some substances are there for which we require carriers. Those carriers are the proteins which will help in movement of the substances from out of the cell to the inside of the cell. So this is called as facilitated transport. So if we see on this slide, you can see our small intestine has many finger-like projections which we called as villi, and these villi, they are covered by so many blood vessels around it. Villi, they help to increase the surface area for absorption, and the absorbed materials, they can be easily carried by the blood to different parts of the body, and that can give rise to energy that we can perform any kind of activity in our daily routine. So this is called as assimilation, and the undigested food that comes out of the body in the form of feces. Water which we drink, that is acting as a major universal solvent, it transport upon the osmotic gradient. Osmosis definition is the movement of the solvent from higher concentration to the lower concentration through the semi-permeable membrane. So always active transport takes place against the concentration gradient, means low to higher. So hence it requires a lot of energy. Which form of energy? ATP, adenosine triphosphate. There are many other nutrients such as amino acids, sodium ions, and they are directly absorbed by the blood. Now if we talk about fatty acids and glycerol, which are the simple substances of the fats, they being insoluble, they cannot easily dissolve in water and they cannot be easily absorbed by the blood. So they have to be first incorporated into very small droplets which we called as micelles. So ultimately they will move to intestinal mucosa, and they are reformed into very small protein coated fat globules, which we call as chylomicrons, and then they transport through lymph vessels in the villi, and ultimately they get absorbed by the blood. So it means a further schematic steps are required for the absorption of fats. They cannot be directly absorbed by our blood stream. So if we talk about this 16.1 table, the summary of absorption in different parts of digestive system. So this is very important. In the mouth, we eat different kind of drugs, medicines. They come in contact with the mucosa layer of our mouth, means buccal cavity, and even the lower side of the tongue. So they get absorbed by the blood directly. So some kind of medicines, they provide instant relief because they get absorbed by the mucosa layer of buccal or oral cavity. Second organ is stomach. It helps in absorption of water, glucose, alcohol, etc. Then we come to small intestine, which is playing a very vital role in absorption of various kind of nutrients such as glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol, as well as amino acids. Then come to large intestine. So it helps in absorption of water, some of the minerals like sodium ions, potassium ions, and few of the drugs. Now, the absorbed substances which have finally reached to the body cells and the tissues, they will be used up to perform different kind of activities in our daily life. This is called as assimilation. And the rest over undigested food, it will come to the rectum, and then along with the anus, it will come out of the body. This is called as defecation. So it is voluntary process, and it is carried by some of the movements which are performed by anal sphincter. Now we come to the topic disorders of digestive system. Sometimes there can be inflammation in our normal gut or alimentary canal, which can be due to some bacteria or viruses. Either we take contaminated food or water, or sometimes some kind of protozoans or parasites may enter in our body that can lead to infection in our stomach. These kind of parasites can be tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm, or pinworm. So they are the parasites where our body behaves as a host, and all the nutrients from our body, they are given to these parasites. Number first disease that is very common is jaundice. So as you can see in the picture, that the healthy person having a normal skin color, but in jaundice it appear yellow in color. Even the yellowishness can be seen in the eyes. So the liver is the very important organ which gets affected. The number second is skin. Even eyes turn yellow. Why it happens? Because the bile which is secreted by the liver of the hepatic cells which get stored in the gallbladder, when the amount of that bile increases. How it happens? Whenever such patients, they have any contaminated food or water, so the viruses, they may enter inside the body and the liver can get infected, and bile juices, they will secrete in maximum amount. Bilirubin will start appearing in urine, in blood, in eyes, as well as skin. Number second, that is very common among all of us, is called as vomiting. So it can occur due to any kind of unhygienic practices. So it is just the ejection. That means when our stomach reject the food that is not going to absorb further in our stomach, so it will come back through the mouth outside. So this is controlled by medulla that is present in our brain. So a feeling of nausea precedes vomiting. So first of all, you will feel like vomiting, and then it will be ultimately performed. Number third is diarrhea. Sometimes loose motions occur. So this is the diarrhea. So more water is excreted out in the form of feces. So less absorption of food as well as water. It can also lead to dehydration conditions. Next is constipation. This can occur due to various kind of reasons. So feces, they retain within the large intestine, and very solid feces are produced in the body. Last is indigestion. So it is also known as stomach upset condition. So food does not get properly digested, and even we feel like our stomach is filled every time. Causes of these can be maybe enzymes they are secreted, such as pepsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin. Either they are secreted in less amount, or we are under some stress condition, some emergency situation is there, you are sad, or food poisoning. If we are eating contaminated food, then overeating and spicy food can also lead to indigestion in our stomach. Next topics, these are given. These are those problems which are happening under poverty people who cannot eat a balanced diet, so they can suffer from deficiencies of proteins and other nutrients. So the two most common diseases that are happening, one is called as kwashiorkor and second is marasmus. Let's first of all study the differences among two. Kwashiorkor, you can see the how baby is suffering from protuberant belly, the stomach is just swollen, then rashes can appear on the skin, and the wounds which can appear due to infection, they have very low healing capacity because of less platelets in the body. So it develops when the child is having a diet but it is deficient in protein. So the children of age from 6 months to 3 years of age are mostly suffering from it. Subcutaneous fat is preserved, means the adipose tissue that is generally consisting of fat that store more fat. That's why the belly or the stomach or the abdomen portion show fatness. Then fatty liver can be there. Liver can also store fat in it, then it can get enlarged. Ribs are not very prominent. So ribs are the main organs which are providing us a posture. Then lethargic, the person will feel very inactive and tired throughout the time. Muscles, they will start wasting, mild or absent, means there will be no proper contraction and relaxation of muscles. Poor appetite, bhukh na lagna is called as appetite. So loss of hunger is called as appetite. And those who are suffering from kwashiorkor, they need a proper protein diet. Marasmus is a kind of disease that occurs due to deficiency of proteins and calories. So not only protein deficiency but other nutrients such as vitamins are also lacking in their diet. So it occurs in the persons or in the children under 1 year of age only. So subcutaneous fat is not there. You can see there is a lot of difference between the child who is suffering from kwashiorkor and other who is suffering from marasmus. So no swelling of the stomach can be seen, and even liver is not fatty. Ribs becomes very prominent. You can even count the number of ribs present in the child. Then muscle wasting is there. Muscle wasting is actually when muscles, they lose the capacity to bind with the bones. So the bones, they will show a very thin nature. Then voracious feeder means the child will become very choosy among the diet which he is getting. So if we will provide a proper amount of proteins, fats and carbohydrates, means when a balanced diet will be provided to the child, then it can be cured. So this is also called as PEM, protein energy malnutrition. So dietary deficiencies, they are widespread not only in India but in South and Southeast Asia, South America, West and Central Africa. So large amount of population during drought or famine and political turmoil. So this may happen in this pandemic situation also, that again these kind of malnutrition cases can increase. This happened in Bangladesh during the Liberation War and Ethiopia during the severe drought in mid-80s. So it has mostly affected the infants and the small children. So as we have already talked about its causes and the differences among these two. So marasmus is produced by deficiency of proteins and calories. It is occurring in infants who are less than a year of age. If mother's milk is replaced too early, means you have seen those people who are under poverty, they have so many children. So all of them will not get proper mother's milk because they are also deficient in proper diet. So then this happens if the mother has second pregnancy or childbirth when the older infant is still too young. So obviously the lactation will get stopped. So protein deficiency will obviously impair the growth. There will be stunted growth in the child, and even the limbs means arms or the legs, they become more thin due to muscle wasting. Then skin becomes dry, thin and wrinkled, and even the wound will not get healed properly. Kwashiorkor, as we have already studied, it results from replacement of mother milk, and even like marasmus, it shows wasting of muscles, thinning of limbs, failure of growth and brain development. So mostly it has been seen that these people who are suffering from mental illness also. So some fat is still left under the skin. Moreover, extensive edema and swelling of body parts are seen in case of kwashiorkor. I hope the whole chapter is clear to you. Thank you.